This video is about the note action. The note action tells it what note to display in the blue box here. It's told to display the note in the program. So let's go to the program. I highlighted in yellow here the note action that tells it to show note number 1. Well, now we'll go to where note number 1 was entered. Down here it says notes 1 through 5. You click this brown box. Here we see that note that was in the blue box. Note number 1. On the side here you see there's note 1 space for note 2, note 3, note 4, and note 5. And I've already typed something in there. Note 2 for all the 6 lines of note 2, and then for 3, 4, and 5. Well, this was where you enter notes 1 to 5. Going to click the X in the upper right hand corner. Now we'll go notes 6 to 10. Well, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 would be put in this box. Right now there's no text in any of those boxes. So we'll click to end that. Alright, so now we know why that note is being displayed, because here the action said note number 1. Well, what if we change that note number? Let's change it to note number 2. There, it's 2, enter, replace the line, execute it. Well, here it shows note number 2. But now, here it says I can click for the next note. This is the first of a sequence of notes. Well, let's click to see what the next one is. It's note number 3, and it still has next here. I click it again. Note number 4. Oh, must be the end of the sequence, because now all I can do is go back. So I can go back to number 3 note and back to number 2 note. Now the only way I can go is forward because it says next. So what told it that this was a sequence? That number 2 was part of a sequence. Well, we'll go to the program and we'll notice here there's a special use of the action called stat. That when the action stat has the parameter of 101, that means that this address here points to sequences for notes. This action should only be done once. In this particular program, it says here, if explanation G is equal to a 1, go to AA, which jumps this area. And when in this area, it sets explanation G to a 1. That tells it do this list of instructions only one time. This will initialize some of the data for the program. And in our case, this stat action is going to have a list of sequences at list A plus 50. And this operation is only supposed to be done once. Well, let's click on that line. And here we know if we click on the 50, we're going to go to list A. And we can see here at offset 50, it says sequence number note 2, 3, and 4, followed by a 0, which says that's the end of the sequence. So 2, 3, and 4 are in a sequence. Then there's a 5, 71, 72, and 73, followed by another 0. So that's also a sequence of notes. Then that's followed by notes 81, 85, 74, 75, and 83, followed by a 0, but then another 0 follows. That means it's the end of the note sequences. So here we see there are 3 different note sequences. One starts with note 2, one starts with note 5, and another one starts with note 81. Well, notice that some of these numbers are greater than 10. Well, we'll end here. And we're going to go to look at the action called note. Let's go to the info for note. Note first shows that you can put notes in 1 through 5 by clicking this brown box, and 6 through 10 by clicking on this brown box. But you also can put notes in app pages. Down here it says, in app page A, you could start with note 11 and 12 and 13, 14, and 15. App page B could have note 21 through 25 and so forth. We're going to go here to app page G because we did put a note at 71, 72, 73, 74, and 75. And at page H, 81, 82, 83, 84, and 85. And over here it says where the offsets of the notes are within the app page. First note would be at offset 0, the second at offset 768, and the fifth one at offset 3072. Well, we're going to end this and we're going to go look at those 2 app pages. So we end this. And then we come down here to page text. And then we come up here and here's page G. We click on page G. Now I've already put something in there. I said note 71 for the 6 lines of 71. And then there's 6 lines for 72. All the way down here to where there's 6 lines for 75. That's so it'll show something when we go to that note. We know also on this one that there are notes in H. So I click on H, and there I put note 81, where note 81 would be, 82 through 85. So we'll click the end of that. Now, what we want to do is we saw what happened when it said note number 1. We saw what happened when it said note number 2. Well, we know there's a sequence of number 5. So we'll click to update that line. We'll change it to 5 now. Enter that, replace that line, and we'll execute again. Now there's note number 5. We click next. There's 71. Notice it went from the notes from the brown boxes to the notes in app page G. Note 71. Then 72, then 73, and now it has to go back. That's all there were in that sequence. We can go back to the beginning, which is note number 5. Alright, that was the second sequence of notes we saw. Well, we'll go back to the program. We know the other sequence started at 81. So we'll come up here and we'll say 81, enter, replace the line, and we'll execute again. Well, now it saw it says note 81. It knows that that's the beginning of a sequence. So over here it says next. 85. Then it goes to a totally different app page and gets 74, 75. Then it branches back to app page H to get note 83. You see, the notes don't have to be in order. So if you find that you need more notes, you can go and make a sequence and use any position and just make sure you know know to use that number when you're making the sequence. Well, there's one other thing I want to show you. I'm going to go to Program. This has already been highlighted, so if I go up here and ask to add a new instruction, I'm going to add another note instruction. And I go over here, and there is Note Action. I click on it, and notice at the bottom of the screen it shows you the information you need to know about notes and where they're stored. And I'm going to say note number 2, E, and I'm going to put that below. So it's first going to see this action saying use note 81, then it's going to see this one saying note number 2. Well, it can only do one of those. It's going to do the last one it saw. The reason for that is you could put at the beginning of your program that you want it to use note number 1. But later on, when it's in your program, you see a certain routine that you think should have a different note. You just have to tell it that note. The last note action it sees is the one that it uses. Alright, now let's execute it. And look, it is. It went to note number 2, which is the last note action it saw. Alright, that's the end of the video on notes.